Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to everyone here on Muftea, our YouTube channel, our YouTube page, our website or websites. And in this video today, I'm going to share with you guys some of the interesting facts, points, pieces of information, tidbits, Snapple facts, quote unquote, about tea. Perhaps it will enhance your love for the drink, or perhaps it will, fortunately or unfortunately, make your obsession with the drink stronger or worse. Or perhaps if you're not an avid tea drinker, you're not a big tea drinker, then maybe you'll become a tea drinker. And if you are a tea drinker, if you have an obsession or strong passion, a love for the drink, maybe you'll learn some more about the culture. Maybe you'll appreciate it more, and maybe you'll come to the realization that it's in reality much more than just a drink. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. So these are a few facts. We can take them easily, simply from the internet. I want to keep things simple, stick to the script, inshallah ta'ala. So the first interesting fact that I want to share with you guys is that tea is the second most widely consumed beverage in the world after water. Tea is the second most. So for any drink or any food in the entire world to be in the top 5, the top 10, let alone the top 3, let alone the second, it has to say something. Now, we know that numbers don't mean everything, but oftentimes numbers do mean things, and sometimes numbers are everything. Sometimes. That's a fact. Not all of the time, but sometimes numbers are everything, and other times numbers aren't everything, but they're very important. So if you think about the billions, millions of human beings throughout the world, the north, the south, the east, the west, Africa, Asia, South America, Central America, all around the world, all of those human beings, the drink that's most consumed, the number 2 drink that's most consumed, widely consumed, is tea. That has to say something. And obviously, we're not here to speak about water or spring water or distilled or filtered water, etc. Tap water, H2O. We know that the gold medalist is the water. Water is the most widely consumed drink in the world. And then comes tea, not coffee. And nothing bad against coffee or our brothers and sisters who enjoy coffee, because I enjoy coffee myself. Number 2. Tea was first discovered in China over 5,000 years ago, and it has since spread around the world with many different varieties and preparations. So from the history of tea, once again, 5,000 is a large number, and that amount of years doesn't mean everything, but it means something. For something to be around for that long of a time and to survive to this day, flourish to this day, evolve in the different varieties, iced, hot, Thai tea, boba tea, black tea, this tea, that tea, so on and so forth, and the preparations with milk, with sugar, with agave, different types of sweeteners, no sweeteners, so on and so forth, right? Different things that you eat with tea when you eat tea, chamomile tea, tea for bedtime, tea to wake you up, so on and so forth. That means something as well. So 5,000 years ago in China, they have the crown of finding or founding tea. And tea is and there's an interesting story, and Allah surely knows best how authentic or how sound it is. It's just a story. It's not a hadith. It's not a ruling, halal, haram. It's a story that there was an ancient Chinese sovereign, whether he was the emperor of a dynasty or not. He was a sovereign, and he was in his yard. He was enjoying, quote-unquote, nature, looking at the plants, looking at the flowers, hearing the birds chirp, so on and so forth, enjoying the fresh air. And one of his physicians was in the yard with him. And we all know the rich history of Chinese medicine, okay, and Chinese physicians. So the story says that the emperor was standing, and he had a pot of hot water that was sitting right beside him. What he was going to do with that hot water, was it going to be used for some type of medicine or We don't know. What's important is that he stood there, and the emperor or the sovereign, they say he got lost. He looked at a bird or a tree or a blossom, and he began to meditate, and he got lost in the garden. And a strong breeze blew, and some leaves, it says, flew from a tree. And those leaves happened to fall into that pot of hot water. And as he sat there, he looked down at the hot water, or he asked his servant to pass him, whatever the water that he needed, and he happened to drink it. And he realized that something was refreshing. It was a taste that he hadn't experienced before. He delighted, he enjoyed it, he loved it. Something was, different. And he got, his servants and his physicians to find out what leaves had fallen into that hot water. And they say that this was the very first time that tea leaves were infused. Okay, Allah knows best how true it is. There are different issues with the story. What was he doing with the hot water? Was he going to drink the hot water sitting there? What's important is this is what has been said. It has been said. Okay, and it isn't far-fetched. It's not impossible. There are many things in life that people have discovered by accident, by a mistake, by something spilling. Okay, some of the most popular condiments that we use are by mistake and by accident. Okay, some of the most big selling things came by accident, right? They say Worcester sauce was a sauce that was forgotten in the basement. They forgot about it, and then later on when they discovered it and they poured it out, they thought it was rotten, and it had tremendous flavor. All right, there are many different stories like that. So ancient China, and of course, like I said, the legacy of medicine, of health, all right, yin and yang, and Zen, the concept of martial arts, the philosophy, the concept of mind, body, and soul, so on and so forth, being connected with ancient China, that's going to have an impact on the tea and the mindset of the tea drinker. Okay, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Number 3, the tea plant is actually a type of evergreen shrub, and it can grow up to 30 feet tall if left unpruned. Number 4, the difference between green, black, and oolong tea is the way they are processed after being harvested. Green tea is steamed or pan-fried, while black tea is fermented and oolong tea is partially fermented. What's black tea? What's green tea? What's Ceylon tea? What's white tea? What's pu'er tea? So on and so forth. All tea comes from one plant, Camellia sinensis. And that's an interesting fact about tea. There are no different variations. It's just one plant. But how it's grown, when it's grown, where it's grown, when is it plucked, how is it plucked, is it dried out, pan-fired, is it stirred, is it baked, is it this, is it that, oxidized like a piece of metal. What makes stainless steel different from iron, right? What are the elements that are involved? What happens when steel isn't stainless and it does rust? So basically, to simplify things, rusty metal isn't bad metal or poor metal. A rusty train track piece, a piece of a train track, you look at it, you think that it's worthless. That metal is still solid, but it's just oxidized, meaning the water, the air, so on and so forth, is having an effect upon this metal, this element, and it's causing it to return back to or go to another state. So that is, to simplify things, that's black tea. Obviously, the tea leaf is going to grow. It's going to be green. And how much air you expose it to, how much heat you expose it to, how long you allow it to wither or twist or curl or turn or to be torn, etc., 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 that's going to determine the color of the tea. So black tea is basically rusty metal. It's oxidized. And the green tea is basically stainless steel. It isn't oxidized. And in oolong, one of my personal favorites, is a mixture between the two. It is partially oxidized and partially green. So it can be anywhere from 25% to 75% oxidized, and sometimes even higher than that. And that's why you find some oolong teas which are very, very dark. And you find other oolong teas which are very green, but not as green as the green teas, which we'll explain and get into and break down later on. All right, so a white tea, why is it called white? Obviously, the tea that you drink, the liquor, tea liquor, meaning the actual tea, water, is professionally called liquor, isn't white. All right, nor are the tea leaves white. Why is it called white tea? There's a reason why. So tea that's grown on a mountaintop, tea that's grown or picked in the spring, first flush, or forever spring, forever young, is picked early, so on and so forth. All right, tea that's grown in a very hot land, a very humid land. All right, tea that's picked or plucked mechanically, plucked by hand, etc., etc. That's going to vary. That's going to determine what type of tea it is. Right, and Allah surely knows best. Moving forward. Number 5, the amount of caffeine in tea varies depending on the type of tea, how it's prepared, and how long it's steeped. On average, a cup of tea contains about half the caffeine of a cup of coffee. Once again, how you do it. You let it sit for 2 minutes versus you let it sit for 5 minutes or 30 seconds. You have a little bit of tea, you have a lot of tea, and obviously we'll get into that. The 3 main sins of beginning students of tea, especially loose leaf tea. The journey from the bag to the leaf is the improper amount of tea, too little, too much. The improper temperature, the water's too hot, the water isn't hot enough, and the improper time of steeping. Okay? All right. And obviously caffeine being a benefit or caffeine being a harm. Some people will call it a drug. Others will call it, something which is halal tayyib, something which is necessary. Many people, I may be one of them, are addicted to caffeine on one level or another. What's important is how much caffeine is in a cup of tea versus a cup of coffee. Is there decaf tea? So on and so forth. And the good and the bad that can be found in caffeine. It's good and it's bad. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. We're not here to talk about caffeine. Is it a drug? Is it a halal or haram or not? Number 6. The tea bag was invented in the early 20th century by a New York tea merchant named Thomas Sullivan, who sent samples of loose leaf tea to his customers in small silk bags. Okay, so this shows us that the tea leaf or the tea bag isn't that old. It isn't that ancient. Rather, in those times and to this very day, most tea drinkers, vivid tea drinkers, use the loose leaf. And we'll have a video discussing the advantages and the disadvantages, the pros and the cons of bag versus loose. What's important is the 20th century, a tea merchant wanted to send samples in silk bags. He didn't send them those bags with the intention of them using the bags to steep, but just as a package. And then obviously convenience, ease, so on and so forth. Many people converted to the bag. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. And this should show us the contribution of different cultures, different races to teaism. And that just because it started in China 5,000 years ago doesn't mean that China has an absolute monopoly over it and no one else has contributed or added to its culture. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Number 7, the world's most expensive tea is called Da Hung Pao, or Big Red Robe, and it is grown in the Wuyi Mountains of China. It can sell for thousands of dollars per ounce. And other types of tea, which are called the champagne of tea, aged for many years, decades. I have a few in my small collection. I've seen people with tea that's very old, very high priced, very high class, and an unforgettable taste. Big Red Robe, different variations of Royal Red Robe. Even the names of the teas that come from China are very interesting and thought-provoking. Number 8, tea has been used for centuries as a natural remedy for a variety of ailments, from headaches to digestive problems to anxiety. What you use it for, to soothe, to calm, to heal, and enjoyment, that's up to you. Number 9, in some cultures, such as in Morocco and Russia, it is traditional to serve tea with sweets or pastries as a sign of hospitality. And the same applies to our country. And of course, you can mix and match what you want to serve with your tea. You want to serve cookies, or in the UK, they may say biscuits, okay? Or cakes, or like in the UK, sandwiches, danishes, so on and so forth. That's up to you. Number 10. The United Kingdom consumes more tea per capita than any other country in the world, with an average of 3 to 4 cups per person per day. That's a lot of tea, and it lies no doubt, I'm not ashamed to say this, it's one of the things that I like about and I love about the UK so much is its connection to tea, much stronger than the American connection to tea. Even though many people in America drink tea, and there are many dedicated tea heads or tea pigs, quote unquote, in the United States and Canada. So don't think it's just a British or Irish or Scottish type of thing. But if you look at the statistics, and perhaps inshallah ta'ala we'll have a video on this, on the countries that consume the most tea, whether it's Ireland, whether it's Iran, or Turkey, Japan, so on and so forth, the real big consumers of tea in the world. So these are just 10 interesting facts. Hopefully the aims and the objectives of the video will be achieved. Those who do enjoy tea, who like tea, they'll love it. Those who love it will become obsessed and infatuated with it. They'll love it even more, have a greater appreciation for it. Those who are, here and there, they'll level up, and a person will appreciate different facts and different pieces of information. And of course, there's so many different Islamic parallels with regards to tea. All right, thanks a lot, everyone. If you're Muslim, for watching the video. If you aren't a Muslim, thank you for watching the video. Please look forward to more videos, more tutorials, more live streams, Q&As, hands-on videos, making tea, and also learning about the theory of tea and teaism. All right, I appreciate it a lot. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.